Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Secret Invasion. And this is the latest mini-series from Marvel in the MCU, focusing on a Skrull invasion of Earth, and Nick Fury coming back down to Earth from S.W.O.R.D., realizing that Skrulls are everywhere, and he's stuck in the middle of Talos and his crew, and Kingsley Be-Adir as Gravik, who's leading a revolution of Skrulls on Earth with a dastardly plan to start World War and encompass a ton of power. This series I enjoyed quite a bit. There's definitely some flaws here, and let's start with that. Visually, it's still it looks not great. There's parts where it's just such obvious green, CGI and fake backgrounds that it just takes you out of it. And this is something that should have felt very tactile and sleek and something like a thriller. And I feel like a lot of those things just kind of take you out of it. There's some episodes that are very intense and really capture the paranoia of who's a Skrull. And I think there's moments throughout the series that does that too. I do feel like there's long stretches of this show where they make it so obvious that it kind of cuts the tension out. I do feel like by the time we get to the main blow-off of this series, the climax of it, it didn't really feel that impactful. Especially when I felt like Gravik was a pretty interesting and compelling villain for most of it. And by the end, it doesn't really feel like he was dispatched in a way that felt like there is weight to it. There's unfortunately some characters who meet some not great ends here, and at least one of them felt like, why? And didn't really feel like it had that much of an impact. But, and also probably the biggest negative is, one of the main characters, Gaia, who's Talos' daughter, played by Emilia Clarke. I don't think Clarke gives a great performance here, which she can be charming. I didn't think she was good in Game of Thrones. Didn't think she was good in this. And they also gave her nothing to work with. Gaia was a very boring character. But what really worked about this were there were some sequences in this that were really tense, full of paranoia, and really leaned into what was going on with the Skrulls. You have somebody, and Nick Fury goes on such an interesting journey in this. You really get to see underneath the surface of him, and Samuel L. Jackson kills it. Absolutely fantastic. I think Rhodey is an interesting addition into this, and there's some interesting things that they wind up doing with his character. Ben Mendelsohn is great as always as Talos. Olivia Colman, who might not be in it as much, but boy does she make a presence. And she's intense and pushes the boundaries of what Marvel's willing to show in one of their projects, and I appreciated that. You have this relation, you find these other relationships that Nick Fury has, and they're interesting and compelling and add emotional layers to his story. Overall, I think the overall narrative, Gravik's plan and everything, makes a lot of sense. And I think it's an interesting way of pulling in a big, Skrull-related storyline from the comics, and I thought it worked. In general, I enjoyed this show, but it felt rushed, and there's all those things that I listed before that just didn't quite work about it, but there was something about this show that I feel like I like this more consistently throughout than most of the Marvel shows that definitely have episodes that just take you out of it. But I think this was solid. I think it's interesting where this is going to go into into Marvels and how it's going to go into whatever Armor Wars is going to turn out to be. But I liked this show. I really dug what they did with Nick Fury. And at the end, he was the main anchor to the story, and it also sets up some interesting questions for how things are going to be moving forward in the MCU. But those are my thoughts on Secret Invasion. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.